In life, there is not only the transient present, but also poetry and distant dreams. But how many dare to set aside current worries, abandon economic concerns, and ambitions to pursue poetic ideals and faraway dreams? As in The Moon and Sixpence, most of us don't become what we dream of, but what we are forced to do. The moon symbolizes ideals, while the sixpence represents reality. What will you choose to pursue? Will you look up and chase the moon, or bow down to the immediate realities? Everyone's answer will differ. And I'm Benjamin. Don't forget to follow the great books in the description. In the book Walden, Henry David Thoreau tells the true story of himself at the age of 28, leaving behind the potential to become a wealthy businessman to live simply by Walden Pond. He abandoned everything, built a cabin in the woods, and lived alone in search of peace. Some say this act was selfish, arguing that we have family, children, parents, and responsibilities to consider. But many others find deep inspiration in Thoreau's story, realizing it's time to live authentically and at their own pace. Faced with these contrasting emotions, I wonder, what causes this disparity, and how can each person live a life without regrets? The answer I found in The Moon and Sixpence, and today I want to share it with you to offer more awareness and perspective on your own life choices. Hello everyone, welcome to Inspire Reads, a channel sharing self-development knowledge through great books. Today's video is titled, Your Perception Shapes Everything, featuring the book The Moon and Sixpence by Maugham. This classic masterpiece, enduring through time, comes from the famous English writer Maugham. Let's dive in together. Your perception shapes how you pursue life. In the story, the main character, Strickland, is a stockbroker in London. With a stable job, he earns enough to keep his family comfortable in the city center. Strickland is married to a capable wife who manages the household well, and they have two well-behaved, charming children. It can be said that Strickland has a successful career, ample income, a happy family, and is respected by many. But surprisingly, this middle-aged man, often seen as quiet and somewhat dull, suddenly leaves everything he's painstakingly built in the first half of his life to move to Paris alone. He leaves a brief letter to his wife, stating that he will not return. At the age of 40, Strickland coldly abandons his wife and children to pursue a dream of becoming a painter, leading many to consider his decision foolish and wrong. He leaves a comfortable, stable life to face poverty, living minimally and doing whatever it takes to earn money for painting supplies, pouring all his energy into his art. Painters typically start learning to paint at 18, but he was already older and his painting skills weren't exceptional. Despite being deemed foolish, he insists, "I must paint, I cannot do otherwise." When someone falls into water, whether they can swim well or not doesn't matter. What is essential is to struggle to survive. Reflect. Is it necessary to swim well to be considered successful? Must one have all the conditions to dare to pursue a dream? Who is the fool, him or this society? Many people use others' standards of success to measure themselves and live in unhappiness. But if someone dedicates their finite life to chasing a dream, regardless of success or failure, is that courageous or foolish? Carl Jung said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. But only those who confront their own soul are awakened." Strickland is someone who dared to face himself, courageously stepping out of his comfort zone to pursue his passion. Material wealth can be important or trivial, a precious asset or just something dispensable. It all depends on your perspective. Many people only dare glance at the moon and then lower their heads to chase sixpence for survival. The moon symbolizes noble ideals, while the sixpence represents the mundane realities of life. We live in a world full of sixpence, like slaves to time, hastily chasing temporary values. We are bound by relationships and responsibilities, forgetting our true goals and becoming numb to being someone. If you only look down to search for sixpence instead of looking up at the sky, you will miss the moon. Everyone has a ditch, a small stream within them. Only those who insist that life is too short and want to live the rest of their lives their own way can turn themselves into a deep river, a vast ocean. If you think the author Maugham is selling out to mundane values, then you are underestimating him. Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer once said, "The greatest prison people live in is the fear of what other people think. What binds each person's life is not wealth, work, or family, but their perception. Different perceptions lead to different life choices. Happiness or unhappiness depends entirely on how you define it. The Moon and Sixpence reminds us that whatever path you choose, the ultimate value you achieve is known only to your heart." Your perception shapes your priorities in life. Strickland's wife, who had a noble background and loved the limelight, viewed life as a calm river. But unexpectedly one day, that river was stirred when her husband left without warning, leaving behind a mess and shattering the peace that had existed for 17 years. Not due to infidelity, but because of his passion for painting, abandoning his wife and children, leaving her feeling ashamed and humiliated. Despite her despair, she quickly recovered when her support system collapsed. She began learning typing, renting out houses, selling belongings, and moving to a smaller house. Even though no one was there for her, the earth continued to turn, and with hard work, her career flourished, and her children succeeded. Eventually, she returned to the upper class, stopping her typing work. In her perception, relying on others brings no glory, only self-reliance and perseverance are lifelong goals. Different perceptions lead to different priorities, resulting in different paths and efforts for each person. As long as you are truly happy with what you do and pursue, without internal conflict or struggle, your choices cannot be judged as right or wrong, noble or lowly. They are all answers from your heart. Strickland placed art above all else, willing to do anything to realize his dreams, while his wife valued reputation and worked hard to achieve personal goals. This illustrates that you will reap what you sow. It's not by chance that after 17 years together, the two had to part ways. Their perceptions had become completely different. A philosopher who founded classical German philosophy once said, "I respect any independent soul, even if I do not always agree, but I will strive to understand." Some are enchanted by the dreamy moonlight, while others prefer the practicality of sixpence. Although differing perceptions may be challenging to reconcile, mutual respect is always essential. You don't need to live according to others' perceptions, and you don't need to criticize their way of life. In life, there is no absolute measure of right or wrong, high or low. The most important thing is to face yourself, live authentically, and give your all. That's the message the author wants to convey. Your perception shapes how you treat others. In the novel, there is another character, Stress, an artist not yet 30 but already balding, with still clumsy painting skills. However, he possesses a keen eye and the ability to recognize hidden talents. Stress was the only one who understood the value of Strickland's paintings and dedicated himself to helping him. When Strickland fell seriously ill, Stress brought him home to care for him, despite his wife's strong objections. Surprisingly, bringing Strickland into the home caused Stress's wife, who initially disliked Strickland, to gradually fall in love with him at first sight. As they spent more time together, she became infatuated with Strickland and wanted to live with him. Stress found himself in deep anguish. But out of love for his wife and admiration for Strickland's talent, he chose to step aside, giving his wife and Strickland the freedom to be together, hoping they could find happiness. However, unexpectedly, Strickland soon abandoned Slime. Some may think Strickland was truly terrible in love, but this stemmed from the difference in perception between Streathand and Blend. Blend and Strickland are two people with completely different pursuits. Blend craves romantic love, caring little for the world's opinions as long as she can be with her beloved. In contrast, in Strickland's heart, art always comes first. He doesn't want to be distracted by romantic affairs, so he ultimately decided to end the relationship. To Strickland, People with different perceptions and goals cannot stay together forever in love. As for stress, he deeply loved his wife. When he heard she had left, he hoped she would return, but his waiting only resulted in a heartbreaking end. She had poisoned herself out of love for someone else. Despite this, Stress's love for art remained unaffected. He invited Streathand to live with him in the Netherlands, but was refused. It can be said that Stress was a good person throughout his life. He was like a farmer holding a venomous snake. Though bitten and in pain, he forgot the pain and continued to hold the snake. Stress is a man full of contradictions, created by the gods. He is short, chubby, often mistaken for being stingy, but in reality, he is an artist with a keen eye for art. His paintings lack realism, are flashy and distorted, but he is honest and not boastful. Stress is kind, compassionate, and generous. He loves his wife more than himself, even after being betrayed. Despite being ridiculed by colleagues, he still helps them when needed. He lived, giving without expecting anything in return. In the novel, Stress appears as a noble and selfless person. Although he ultimately suffered, his greatness could not be concealed. Some saw him as pitiful and foolish, but others recognized his nobility. Different perceptions lead to different ways of treating others. Some live to help others without expecting anything, while others focus solely on themselves. Even in a harsh life, there is always a place where you can deposit your pure conscience and love. Your perception determines how you treat others. Live sincerely and give love. This book emphasizes live as you want, in the environment you love, with tranquility and peace, without struggle. This is a free life, guided by awareness and spirit. Success or failure is defined by each individual, and different perceptions lead to different life choices. Some pursue fame and fortune, while others seek peace and freedom. In this life, we must choose how to live without regrets. Aller once said, "You do not live to meet others' expectations, and others do not live to meet yours. Listen to your heart and choose the life you love. That is the greatest success. Life is not a narrow path limited by success or failure, good or bad, right or wrong. Everyone has their own way of living, and no one has the right to interfere in that choice. There is no high or low way of living, as long as you are happy with it." Van Gogh once said, "Each of us has a fire in our hearts, but only those who pass by see the smoke. You live for the fire in your heart, not the smoke in others' eyes. Whether gazing at the stars or walking on the ground, live the way you want. As long as your heart is not conflicted without struggle, that is enough. Those who pursue their dreams are truly admirable. I wish you and I, all of us, a wonderful life, living as we wish and giving our all." Thank you for listening. If you find this video helpful, please share and support by liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell to see my latest videos. Once again, thank you, and see you in the next video.